Welcome to the weekend market report, where we go over the weekly charts of crypto, Forex, and the underlying stock market. I show you guys a few ideas that I'm watching going into next week. And as always, go to statsedgetrading.com, sign up for the email list there, because I'm very close to releasing a couple things that will go to email subscribers first. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So these videos, we're kind of chilling out and we're zooming back on the markets a bit. So grab your coffee or tea or whatever you're into, and let's get into it here. So starting, as always, with Bitcoin. So really, there is still not much to say. We are an absolute rocket ship on Bitcoin, and I just always want to remind people that these always, at some point, end badly, right? You don't know when that is. Is that around now? Is that at 100,000? Is that 250,000? This is more of just a PSA. I'm obviously not a financial advisor, but if you're trading this stuff, have an exit point. Even if you want to be a Bitcoin holder forever, have an exit point for some. That doesn't necessarily mean it's on the way up, like a profit target, but have a uncle moment where you go, okay, I'm going to take some of this money and put it on the tables, or take off the table. And the reason for that is, again, just my history with it. I know a lot of people who were long up in the $20,000 mark and had to hold all the way down to 3,000. If they had just had a plan to get out anywhere along the way, they would have had a much happier 5-6 years before it came up. And then I know a lot of people who were held all the way up to 70,000 and then held all the way down to 14,000. So at some point you just got to say, hey, this is a moment where I'm going to take a little bit of this trade off the table. For me, there's nothing to do here, right? I've talked about it before. If we fail to make a new all-time high, I think that's interesting. But until then, we're just in an uptrend, and I need more of kind of a base to play off of. So I have no crypto right now, but I do have a bunch of crypto stocks like Coinbase that are, it's essentially the same thing. It's getting me the same return. Anyway, so speaking down the list here, we have gold. So gold moving a little bit with Bitcoin, breaking out of this anchored VWAP right here to the upside on a really, really strong candle. So we have these highs right here that we've always struggled at over the last few years. But this is the first kind of closing high above this area. So gold, to me, is getting very interesting holding this level. I did want to also point out the silver, complete and utter underperformance in silver. Just can't get going in any way on silver. So interesting to note that this seems to be a gold play, and silver is usually some sort of leverage gold, but just can't get off the mat here. So I don't know if there's an underperformance there to be had, where if gold reverts, silver is the place to short. But again, just something that I thought I would point out. Just grab my notes here, making sure I know everything I want to chat with you guys about. So we'll go to the Dixie, DXY. This is the dollar index right here. And again, it's just another inside week. So we talked about this week how we were bouncing a little bit off of an anchored VWAP from, I don't think it was there, I think it was from higher. And we have this area that's been a important area for a long time. It's like 103 or so on the dollar index, and then just an inside week this week. Couldn't get any movement one way or the other. But if we take a look under the hood a little bit, we see euro, again, inside week, but we're still struggling. It hit that anchored VWAP from up here again and then rejected from it. And then if we go to pound, inside week, and then kind of the opposite, right? So holding the anchored VWAPs that I have drawn here as well. So really not much action to be said. I did notice the underperformance here in Aussie dollar, right? We didn't bounce at all. It wasn't an inside week. It was an outside week to the downside. So a little bit of an underperformance there in Aussie dollar. USD CAD, I'm interested here. We're up 5-6 weeks, or almost probably 10 weeks in a row, to this downward sloping anchored VWAP. So this has this on watch for a short for me, this dollar CAD. And then also the dollar franc has kind of the same picture, where we're up a long time in a row. We're struggling with some anchored VWAP resistance. It could just be a continuation of this trend right here. So we could be in for at least a little relief push there. So that is crypto and FX. So now let's get into stocks, and we're going to get into stocks starting with, let's grab this and we're doing weekly charts right now. And let's start with the S&P 500. So we go to SPY here, and just another new all-time high. Another frustrating week to be a bear and to be betting against this market over and over and over again. When the final bear capitulates, that will be the end of this move, I think. When we're finally down and out, when you hear your famous perma bear go uncle, I think that will kind of be the end of it. So watching that really closely, but again, nothing really to be drawn from that yet. There's no price action that we can play off of. So these periods of time, I'll just mention now, get a little bit hard for me in my trading philosophy as a trend follower, because when we're just going up all the time, I thankfully have a portfolio of stocks that are doing well. So that's great. But there's just no more action to take. So I still do my analysis, and I think this is important to do your analysis every week regardless, because you never know when you're going to have that opportunity. And also for me, it allows me to sit on my hands and say, new all-time high this week, maybe ratchet up the trailing stops on a lot of the longs I have. But other than that, there's nothing really to do. So we have RSP. So this is the equal weighted of the S&P 500. So it kind of devalues the large companies and says, okay, what's everybody in the S&P 500 doing on average? And you can see that is also incredibly bullish, not as bullish as the cap weighted because of how good NVIDIA and a lot of these semis have been doing. But RSP doing great, getting up to these all-time highs. So it hasn't, new weekly all-time closing high in RSP is certainly a good thing, but still has to break through that all-time high right there. So again, more evidence that there is a lot of strength under the hood with a lot of these names. But, there's still lagging, which is fine, right? I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. You want your best players to be leading, and that's what we're seeing here as well. So we go to MDY. MDY has also put in a new all-time weekly closing high on the mid caps. So these aren't even the big guys that we're talking about. These are the little guys, and a nice little push there in MDY. So a couple of sectors that are looking interesting. TLT. And TLT is interesting because if we draw in this anchored view app right here, you can see this is, oh, I am in the way there. Let me put me over here. There we go. You can see that this is my favorite setup from a kind of bottom picker's point of view that I've talked about a lot, where you want a long period of time above the anchored view app from the major low. And then when it pulls back, if it finds support right there, then to me, that's an interesting play in which I'm looking for a bounce off of. And again, 2 days in a row, so that'd be interesting. That would mean that rates would be lowering. That would be more bullish for the market if we have bonds pushing up and rates lowering a little bit. So interesting there in TLT. Getting into some commodities, we have USO. So this is our oil fund, just continuing to grind higher. Talked a lot about how I liked the fact that it was holding this zone right here and, looked for some rotation, and I own some oil names, so we're getting that. It's nothing crazy, but it's just, slow grind higher in this name. XME, we have metals and mining ETF, and this is a setup that I've been pointing out to you guys for a while, where we have this prior resistance right here that was acting as support right here and looks to be pushing off. I think a lot of this movement is going to be that gold movement that we talked about earlier. It still looks good though, so there's absolutely no complaints here. TAN continues to kind of hold on the best it can, right? So I talked about this a few times where we have this level right here, where this was the pre-2021 highs, massive insane push in 2020, and then pull back, and we're right at that area. We continue to battle. This is more for people who like to trade these kind of bottoming patterns and reversal patterns. I'll take a shot every now and then. You do have a very important level, and that's what I like about it. I would say a weekly close under $40 for someone like me, that would be time to go. But we are still battling this level that is very interesting to me. So some individual names that I'm going to watch here going into this week, and one is Goose. So as I talked about before, this time in the market gets pretty hard for me, where the issues that I have is that the market is just going up week after week after week after week. So I'm someone who likes to take relative strength plays, or plays that are doing stronger than the overall market or stronger than peers within its sector. The issue I have when the market is just going up all the time is that stocks are either lagging, so they're not going up with the market, and then I'm buying lagging stocks, which I generally don't like to do, or they haven't broken out at all. They haven't, or they're moving with the market. Sorry, and the market is overextended, so therefore they're overextended as well. So again, it becomes a little bit hard. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking for more kind of shorter swings and opportunistic plays. And I'm doing that by looking at a high short float list I have here at Trade Ideas. As always, you can use Stats Edge. You can save yourself 15% off if you want to give that a shot, and that helps out the channel. But I'm just scanning for a list of stocks that are strong, but have really, really high short floats. So that's what you'll see with these names. So Goose, for example, has and you can always see it right up here. So Goose has a 29% short float. That's pretty insane, in my opinion, that 29% short float. And it's starting to kind of come out of this base. It had prior resistance right here. That's acting as support. This gray line is a 200-day moving average. So if we can get above this 200-day moving average, this might be a nice little short float play to play with. FDMT, no idea what these guys are, but a 26% short float. This one gapped up. It tried to fill the gap and it failed to fill the gap. And now it's got this little resistance at about $30 a share. So I like that because, again, after this insane move from 10 to 30, that short float area, or that short float people, must be pretty hard up. If we go blink, let's zoom out, BLNK. This is the same type of idea where I have, if I anchor the VWAP here, what I talked about in TLT, where I have this major swing low. This thing's been in a downtrend forever. Bounces from there, pulls back, and it puts in a little bit of support at that anchor VWAP. This has a 32% short float. This is why I'm watching this one, if it can get over this base. To me, these EV charging and things, they seem to move a lot with solar. So if solar finds that support, then I think this will be a good one. But obviously, a very hurt stock from $50 down to $3. So those shorts aren't super worried. But again, 32% is a massive short number. Last but not least, we have BMEA. And BMEA is 43% short. So nearly half of the float is short. And that's pretty wild to me. So the basic idea I have on this guy is, let me find a simple triangle breakout play. Right? So you have a consolidation that's going on where it had some big move or earnings event here and has just been consolidating sideways and getting tighter and tighter and tighter against this kind of $20 level in this triangle. If we see a push through here, that gets us above the 200-day moving average, it gets us above this triangle. That may be a moment where shorts get a little bit nervous. So that is what I'm watching when it comes to this particular kind of setup and play as well. So those are my ideas. Again, it's a way for me to get maybe some short-term uncorrelated trading to the market, where the market is just ripping every day. Again, I have this long portfolio. I'm fine with it. But I'm keeping a close eye on the market because at some point, we're going to have a little bit of a rest or a pullback. And then I wonder if we get some money flowing into some of these short float names. That's the idea anyway. Again, everyone, thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching this. Thanks for all the comments, the likes, the subscribes. That all helps the algorithm. Go to statsedgetraining.com, sign up for the email list. And until next week, get away from the screens.